Amal Clooney, the smart, savvy, and stylish lawyer and, yes, wife of George Clooney, is speaking out.
Amal Clooney, a well-known human rights attorney, has just revealed a shocking revelation that no one anticipated was going to happen. She finally broke her silence on personal matters after years of keeping a relatively private stance on them, and what she revealed has left everyone stunned. She has finally admitted what she has been keeping to herself. Recent interviews have provided Amal with the opportunity to discuss a deeply personal matter that has been kept a secret for an excessively long period of time. The news has not only caused her closest friends to be shocked, but it has also caused the entire world to go into a frenzy. Why is it that something could possibly be so revolutionary that it is making headlines all over the world? Stay tuned as we delve into the specifics of Amal Clooney's statement, which came as a complete surprise and was shocking to everyone. The love life of George Clooney, who went from being Hollywood's ultimate bachelor to being a devoted husband, has always been a topic of fascination, and there is a good reason for this. His dazzling smile, undeniable talent, and skyrocketing career made him one of the most sought-after bachelors in Hollywood, and he captivated the entire world with his remarkable abilities. The only thing that seemed to be missing from his life was, as he frequently jokes, the requirement to get married. On a number of occasions, Clooney had made it abundantly clear that he had no intention of getting married or having children. In the aftermath of the dissolution of his first marriage, he was so convinced of this that he famously declared that he would never again walk down the aisle. According to him, the life of a bachelor appeared to be functioning perfectly. Over the course of several years, George was able to be successful in the public eye by participating in glitzy red carpet events, working on high-profile films, and dating stunning women. Despite the fact that his romantic life was constantly in the news, none of his relationships were able to withstand the test of time. His portrayal in the media as the ideal bachelor, someone who valued his independence and had no real interest in settling down, was a source of great satisfaction for the media. Clooney frequently participated in this narrative by humorously dismissing the concept of marriage in interviews and even stating that he was not exactly suited for the institution of marriage. His followers admired his straightforwardness, and they couldn't help but laugh along with him whenever he made light of the fact that he was single. Why would you want to settle down when it seems like you have everything? However, this is where things start to get really interesting. Clooney appeared to have his life as a bachelor all figured out, but life had other plans for him, and he was surprised by a turn of events that even he did not anticipate. First things first. Before we get into the surprise that completely altered his romantic life, let's go back in time and take a more in-depth look at how George Clooney became the Hollywood icon that we are all familiar with today. The rise to fame of this individual reveals a great deal about the person who is hiding behind the spotlight, and it also serves to perfectly set the stage for one of the most unexpected chapters in his life. And what about romantic love? To put it another way, the same George Clooney who once proudly declared that marriage was not for him, now says, "I'm just glad to be your husband, regardless of what might have brought us together." Without a doubt, the most ideal bachelor is now a devoted husband and one of the most well-liked actors in the world. What a shock, isn't it? You are not the only one who has that thought. However, Clooney's acting career is not the only thing that he is known for. A tidal wave of experiences has swept through the man's life, and his narrative goes much further than the bright lights of Hollywood. Although George was born in Kentucky on May 6, 1961, he had a front-row seat to the world of entertainment throughout his childhood. Nick Clooney, his father, was successful in the television industry. However, George did not become famous by chance. Because he was waiting for his big break, his early career was a slog, consisting of a series of small roles in films and television shows that were easily forgotten. When he was cast in the role of Dr. Doug Ross on the television show ER in the 1990s, that occurred. His character, a charming and defiant doctor, became a household name almost immediately after he was cast in the role. Clooney's career got off the ground, and all of a sudden, everyone was aware of his identity. Clooney's journey had just begun when he went from being a struggling actor to finally becoming a leading man. But he had no idea that the course of his personal life was about to take a different direction. Everyone, including him, was caught off guard. Okay, let's get into what transpired after that. At this point, Clooney's transition into the film industry was smooth. In the years that followed, he went on to star in critically acclaimed films such as Ocean's 11, Gravity, and Syriana, the latter of which earned him an Academy Award. The fact remains, however, that George Clooney is not merely a talented actor or a Hollywood beau. Through his work as a director, producer, and writer, he has also demonstrated his expertise behind the camera. As a result of the fact that his films frequently address significant social and political issues, it is clear that he is deeply committed to making a difference. In addition to his work in the entertainment industry, Clooney has become well known for his humanitarian efforts. He has utilized his fame to bring attention to causes such as the crisis in Darfur and to bring aid to regions that are affected by war. Because of his determination to bring about positive change, he has garnered respect that extends far beyond the film industry. However, despite all of his success, Clooney's personal life was not always as without a hitch, particularly when it came to his romantic relationships. People who have so much going for them are probably wondering how someone like him can have such a difficult time falling in love, especially with his first marriage. Let's look into that better. At one point, Clooney himself made a joke about the surprise of his marriage, which occurred later in life, stating that even he had never anticipated it to take place. Due to the fact that his first marriage did not last, it has always been a topic of interesting discussion. So, what exactly had gone wrong between them? As a next step, let's unravel that tale, beginning with his first marriage and ending with his meeting with Amal. In the late 1980s, George was not yet the superstar that we are familiar with today. He was still working hard in Hollywood, where he was trying to establish a name for himself by appearing in insignificant roles in films and television shows. During this time, he became obsessed with the actress Talia Balsam, whom he had met. She was both beautiful and talented, and there was no denying the connection that existed between the two of them. The year 1989 marked the year that George and Talia made the decision to finally tie the knot. For George, getting married seemed like the next logical step due to the fact that he was already in love with the woman he was going to marry. But that was the point at which things began to fall apart. It wasn't long before they realized that love alone won't always be enough to keep a marriage going strong. When George was young, his career was just starting to take off, and as the demands of his job increased, it became more difficult for him to fully invest in his relationship. After some time had passed, George would admit in interviews that he was not ready for the commitment that marriage actually required of him. Despite the fact that he expressed concern for Talia, he was preoccupied with advancing his career, which prevented him from giving the relationship the attention it required. This particular chapter in his life marked the beginning of a story that would, over the course of many years, influence the way he viewed relationships. After a few years had passed, it became clear that their marriage had reached its end point. In 1993, George and Talia decided to end their marriage, which resulted in George becoming disillusioned with the overall concept of marriage. He was under the impression that he had not only failed as a husband, but also failed to comprehend the requirements that marriage actually entailed. George continued to hold the belief that he was not suited for the position for a considerable amount of time after that. In his own mind, he was able to convince himself that he was not the kind of person who could sustain a relationship. George frequently reflected on the life lessons he had learned from his first marriage when he looked back on his life. He came to the realization that he had been so preoccupied with his aspirations and dreams that he had neglected to take into account the impact that they had on his partner. His career had been his top priority, and according to him, he did not leave enough room in his schedule for his marriage. Divorce served to humble him in many different ways. Despite the fact that he was performing exceptionally well in his career, it became abundantly clear that he had a great deal more to learn about love and relationships. Despite the fact that it was painful, this experience would go on to shape George's future perspectives on love, commitment, and how to strike a balance between personal relationships and professional aspirations. After the divorce, George remained single for a number of years, and it was during this time that he entered his phase of being a bachelor. In spite of the fact that he dated a few famous women, he showed absolutely no interest in getting married again. When members of the media inquired about remarriage, George would dismiss the question with a grin and joke that he had already tried his hand at marriage, and it had not exactly been a particularly successful experience. He would make jokes about how he was not cut out to be a husband, and the majority of people could not help but believe him. As far as the outside world was concerned, he appeared to be doing quite well in his role as a bachelor, as if he had put marriage in the past for good. The reality, however, was that his first marriage left a scar that was much deeper than anyone seemed to realize at the time. There was more to it than just the breakup. The story was about how George's failure caused him to question his own abilities. He had always been self-assured and confident, but the dissolution of his marriage caused him to question his capacity to be in a relationship that would last for a significant amount of time. As time went on, he began to come to the realization that perhaps marriage was not the right choice for him, and that he would be better off going it alone. Over the course of many years, George Clooney's relationships were shaped by his conviction that remaining guarded was safer. He maintained a distance from people by dating in a casual manner, but he never got too close to them. While the wounds from his first marriage were still fresh, he had no intention of reliving the agony that he had experienced. Instead, he constructed sturdy walls. It was not simply a matter of protecting himself from experiencing heartbreak. It was about completely avoiding the possibility of experiencing any kind of pain. And for a period of time, he was able to persuade himself that this was the secret to happiness. He was in possession of everything that he believed he required, including an enviable career, devoted friends, and freedom to the fullest extent possible. Why would you put your love at risk? George was cruising through life, becoming an even bigger Hollywood star, while his ex-wife, Talia Balsam, had moved on with her life and married actor John Slattery, who was dating another woman. When viewed from the outside, it appeared as though both of them had discovered their own unique form of happiness. On the other hand, George's emotional barriers remained firmly in place, and they subtly influenced his every action when it came to matters of love and relationships. Then, life took a turn that was completely unexpected. George made a solemn promise to himself that he would never marry, but love found him in the most unanticipated of ways. Following the dissolution of his first marriage, he made it abundantly clear that he had no intention of getting married again. In his single life, George found happiness. Through the success of his career, he was able to live his life according to his own terms, which he cherished. For many people, he was the epitome of someone who had everything: fame, success, and absolutely no desire to settle down when they reached adulthood. The year 2013 arrived, and from that point on, everything was different. It was in that year that he came into contact with Amal, a remarkable human rights attorney hailing from Lebanon. At George's home in Lake Como, Italy, they were introduced to one another by a friend they both shared. Initially, George did not have very high expectations. After all, he had already known a great number of fascinating people, and he simply did not have any interest in forming romantic relationships. However, the moment Amal entered the room, a certain something occurred. Not only was she stunningly beautiful, but it was her sharp intellect and her deep-seated commitment to doing what is right that truly captivated his attention. She did not actively participate in the Hollywood scene. She was taking part in battles that took place in the real world. As soon as George was aware of it, the barriers that he had constructed around himself began to fall apart. At the end of the day, perhaps being single was not the only way to live things. To answer your question, who is this remarkable woman who managed to win the affection of one of the most eligible bachelors in Hollywood? Amal Clooney is a woman whose story goes far beyond simply being George Clooney's wife. Let's delve deeper into her life and discover more about her. The beginnings of Amal Clooney's life and career. Amal Clooney is significantly more than just the wife of a famous actor in Hollywood. On her own, she is a formidable force in the legal field. Her career has been nothing short of extraordinary, in addition to the fact that she is widely recognized as one of the most courageous and brilliant human rights lawyers of our time. Throughout her career, Amal has earned respect in courtrooms all over the world by challenging dictators, prosecuting terrorists, and defending the right to free speech. Now, however, in a turn of events that has taken everyone by surprise, she has made a decision that will completely change the course of her life. Why would someone who is so committed to doing what is right decide to change her course of action? Amal, who is well known for her methodical victories in high-stakes cases, has recently made a courageous move that has the potential to reshape not only her career, but also her legacy. Recently, she broke her silence and disclosed information that pertains to both her personal life and her professional life. What does this mean for Amal? And how will this decision affect her future as a leading voice for justice? This leaves all of us wondering what the future holds for Amal. It is necessary to take a step back in order to comprehend the motivations that drive this fearless attorney. Can you tell me about Amal and what led her to become the legal expert that she is today? Amal Ramzi Alamuddin was born on February 3, 1978, in the nation of Lebanon's capital city of Beirut, during a period of great upheaval. Her father, who was a professor at a university and the owner of a travel agency, and her mother, who was a journalist, made the difficult decision to leave Lebanon when Amal was only 2 years old in order to escape the violence that was occurring during the Civil War. In 1980, the family made their home in London, and it was there that Amal quickly demonstrated her academic potential. She was able to secure a scholarship to attend Oxford University by the year 1996, which sparked her interest in the field of human rights law. Her travels did not come to an end there. After receiving her bachelor's degree in law in the year 2000, she continued her education at the New York University School of Law, where she participated in an internship with notable individuals such as Sonia Sotomayor, who would later become a justice on the Supreme Court. It was in the year 2002 when Amal had finished her education and passed the New York State Bar exam, thereby laying the groundwork for what would later become an extraordinary legal career. As the entire world watches, one thing is becoming abundantly clear. Her story is just getting started. There is a long way to go before Amal Clooney achieves her objectives. She joined Sullivan & Cromwell, a prestigious law firm in New York City, after she had successfully passed the bar examination. As a member of their defense group, she made a name for herself there by representing high-profile clients such as Enron and Arthur Andersen in investigations that were related to criminal activities. When she was working on some of the most significant corporate cases of the time, her legal skills were put to the test and sharpened. Amal, on the other hand, started concentrating on international law very quickly. In 2005, she became a member of a United Nations tribunal that was tasked with the responsibility of prosecuting those responsible for the assassination of Rafik Hariri, who had previously served as Prime Minister of Lebanon. Not only did this move take her career in an exciting new direction, but it also highlighted her dedication to ensuring that justice is practiced on a global scale. In the year 2010, Amal relocated back to London and became a member of Doughty Street Chambers, a law firm that is well known for its advocacy of civil liberties. From that point on, Amal's career took off, and she went on to handle some of the most high-profile cases that were being discussed on a global scale. Yulia Tymoshenko, the former Prime Minister of Ukraine, was represented by her. She also defended Abdullah al-Sanusi, the intelligence chief of Muammar al-Gaddafi, and advocated for Julian Assange, the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. Her ability to tackle complex legal issues with self-assurance and accuracy was demonstrated in each and every case she worked on. But let me tell you something. When it comes to the law, she is not going to slow down anytime soon. The influence of Amal Clooney is, in point of fact, only increasing in strength. In addition to her work in the field of criminal defense, Amal has also taken on a number of advisory roles that demonstrate her influence on a global scale. During the investigation into the controversial use of drones in counterterrorism that took place in 2013, she served as counsel and worked with Kofi Annan on a United Nations commission designed to investigate Syria. In addition to this, she was an integral part of the global summit to end sexual violence in conflict, where she advocated for the protection of women's rights in areas that are currently experiencing conflict. Amal took on yet another massive case in 2015, representing Armenia before the European Court of Human Rights in a lawsuit against Turkey for the denial of the Armenian genocide. The lawsuit was filed in response to Turkey's denial of the genocide. Particularly remarkable is the manner in which Amal Clooney has managed to maintain a healthy equilibrium between her flourishing career in international law and her life in the public eye. She had already established herself as a prominent figure in the legal community, but she entered an even more prominent spotlight when she became involved with George Clooney, the most popular bachelor in Hollywood. The subsequent events were completely beyond anyone's ability to predict. But let me tell you something. In spite of the fact that the media was buzzing about their relationship, Amal did not lack for anything. She reached new heights. Beyond the confines of the courtroom, her influence is far-reaching. Among the most prestigious institutions in the world, Amal has taught criminal law at institutions such as the University of London and the Hague Academy of International Law. In addition to that, she offers her services as a visiting professor at Columbia Law School. As if that weren't enough, it's obvious that she's not just having an effect on things. At the same time that she is deftly navigating her personal life in the public eye, she is actively shaping the future of international law. The Partnership for Change in Love and Activism. The couple tied the knot in a dreamy ceremony in Venice, Italy, in September of 2014. After the ceremony, they moved into a luxurious estate on a small island in the Thames River. On the other hand, this was not your typical high-profile wedding. In order to establish a precedent for their future collaborative philanthropic endeavors, the politically active couple made headlines almost immediately by donating the proceeds from their wedding photographs to a charity that works to protect human rights. By February of 2017, the news was once again in the headlines. Amal was expecting a set of twins. On June 6, 2017, she gave birth to Ella and Alexander, who were their first children. The delivery took place in a hospital in London. In later years, the colonies expressed their happiness through George's publicist, who made a joke about George's adjustment to fatherhood at the age of 56, when he was once considered the eternal bachelor. In the meantime, Amal continued her unrelenting determination to make a difference in the world, while he was finally settling into life as a doting father. At first glance, the combination of Amal Clooney, a well-known human rights attorney, and George Clooney, a well-known figure in the entertainment industry, might appear to be an unlikely one. If you dig a little deeper, however, you will discover that their ideologies and values are aligned in ways that are quite surprising. George, who is known for his acting, has also become a passionate advocate for human rights, using his fame to bring attention to global issues. This is in contrast to Amal, who spends her days fighting for justice in courtrooms all over the world. This is where things start to get interesting. Despite the fact that they approach the problem from different perspectives, both of them have a profound dedication to making the world a better place. Amal takes a direct approach to addressing injustice, whether it be in the form of bringing down dictators or defending journalists. In the meantime, George makes use of his platform to draw attention to issues such as refugees, South Sudan, and Darfur. The mutual conviction that they should use their power for the greater good is the glue that holds them together. Upon meeting Amal, George found that her commitment to doing what is right struck a chord with him on a personal level. Certainly, George had always been socially conscious. However, Amal's work provided him with a fresh viewpoint and a more profound comprehension of what it truly means to fight for change during his lifetime. And for Amal, the fact that George was willing to venture outside of the confines of Hollywood and deal with issues that are prevalent in the real world elevated him to the status of more than just another celebrity. The fact that they both have the same goal of utilizing their skills and resources to affect change is what elevates their relationship to a high level beyond that of a simple romantic one. It is a partnership that is founded on the shared aspiration to make a difference in the world. So how does this ideology that we all share actually work? Not only have they established a life together, but they have also stood up for causes that are near and dear to their hearts. Whether it be through Amal's legal battles or George's activism, their journeys may be different, but the end goal is the same: to make the world a more compassionate and just place. How do you feel about George Clooney and the woman he has recently found love with? We would appreciate it if you could contribute your thoughts to the comments section. For additional content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Furthermore, click the following video that is displayed on your screen. You are going to take pleasure in it.